All right, item 12, consider implementing comparable. Comparable is a public interface right here. That's just the standard template for it. And basically what we're doing is we're making it where you can compare any object with other objects in the same way that you would use greater than or equal to, so greater than or less than or equal to. So the function compare to right here, we would use with maybe these numbers right here. So we have an x that's 4, a y that's 9, a z that's 4. If we do x compare to y, since x is smaller than y, we'll always return a negative value to let us know that x is smaller. Since x is equal to z, every time you do x compare to z, you're going to get a 0 to indicate that they're equal. Y, when you compare it to x, is going to return a positive value to indicate that it's greater than, and to indicate that y is a greater value than x. This is really useful because whenever you have listable types, whenever you have types that you could list by in order, by value, it makes it much easier to sort them if you have a compare to function.
However, one thing we must be careful is that when we implement the compare to method for our class, we must follow the three provisions for comparison. Well, first of all, when say we have two objects x and y here, and then when we call the compare to method from x and compare x with y, if the results of the comparison is negative, the negative results, meaning that x is smaller than y, in that case, when we compare y to x, meaning we call the compare to method from y and pass the x as the parameter, the result should be positive. Again, since x is smaller than y, when we call the compare to method from x pass y as parameter, the result is going to be a negative number. And if we reverse it and call the compare to method from y and pass the x as the parameter, the result should be a positive number. The second provision we need to follow is that when we have three objects, A, B, and C here, when the results of A compared with B is positive, meaning that A is larger than B, and if B is larger than C, and in that case, A must be larger than C. So the results of A compared B must be greater than 0, must be a positive number. The results of B compared with C is also a positive number. And in that case, when we compare A with C, and you can see over here, that result must also be a positive number. The third provision that we need to follow is that when A equals to B, meaning that when we call the comparative method to compare A and B, it's going to return a 0. And in that case, if A compared to a third object C, say if the results of the comparative method returns a positive number, then the comparative method that compares B and C needs to also return a positive number. So again, when we try to implement our comparative method for our own objects or classes, we need to follow these three provisions.